Hi, Rachel. It's been a while.
Hi, Mary. Thank you so much for joining me in the StreamYard studio. And I would love to welcome you. Tell me if this is cool with you to call you Mary Means, Miss Main Street USA.
Sure, I've been called worse.
Well, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today. I'm excited for everyone in our Facebook group and beyond, replay viewers and other people that will share this conversation with, to get a behind the scenes look at the visual roadmap that we created for you for your year-long adventure in the brand spanking new program called SOAR, the Story Academy. And one of the things that I wanted to celebrate and to share with everyone watching is what kind of results you already got from having this customized roadmap, because it's something that I created with you guys in mind. And I think it's going to be so inspiring to people who are watching and listening. So here's the beautiful roadmap. And let's talk about what kind of results, and then we'll remove this script and dive into more of the actual roadmap.
Well,
So
I want to compliment you on your graphic facilitation skills because it's not just capturing the essence of what we talked about, but it's also enlivening it with a visual, which is a very good reminder from time to time. Um, and the entire exercise, I used to do a lot of helping communities establish the vision of what they wanted to accomplish. And I never thought about actually kind of turning it on my own life. But essentially, what the deep dive and the roadmap is casting a vision, casting what you are hoping to achieve with this. And then you pushed me, as I love to have you do, to say, okay, then how are you going to get started with this? What are you going to do in the next 90 days? And I went, gulp. This is getting serious. And we laid out some things.
So if I may interrupt just for a moment, because what I'd like to make sure is that we share with the viewers your results, and then we reverse engineer from that.
All right.
3 weeks in from this customized roadmap, Ms. Mary Means lost nearly 10 pounds, been kayaking twice with her partner, and she's been writing nearly daily.
Yep.
What? That's within 3 weeks in.
That's right. So, and now it's been about 3.5, 4 weeks, I guess. And I've lost another couple of pounds and we've been kayaking again. So,
whoa. Fantastic. So now let's reverse engineer back to how this took shape and why I like to position at the beginning of this brand new program to make sure that people have a guide. And I love that you talked about how it was enlivening to adding in the graphics. So we met for a deep dive. So we were 2 hours. Yeah.
Yep.
And then along the way, we first came up with a title. There's something so powerful about titling a day. Don't you think? Titling anything.
Absolutely.
And then the other pieces are, we talked about the big dreams. We talked about the 90-day plan. We came up with the daily program. And we also, and this is so important, we also talked about obstacles.
I notice you've drawn a kayak above obstacles, and I want to assure everyone that is not linked. Kayaking is good for you. It's not an obstacle.
It's the way you paddle through.
That's right. That's right. Rough water or calm.
So let's backtrack. So we've got our results here where it's so exciting. So once again, 3 weeks in, lost nearly 10 pounds. Now we've added 2 more to the loss. So what would you say you've lost then?
Probably about 12 by now.
12 pounds, been kayaking 3 times, and how's the writing?
I've been writing not every day, but probably 5 days out of 7.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and yeah, I have been.
That's fantastic. So if we reverse engineer, first of all, what's the title of your day?
Mary Takes Flight.
And then there's a subtitle.
Yep, Shedding to Soar. I think at the time we talked, when we had the deep dive, our neck of the woods was just alive with cicadas. The 17-year brood X was in full throat here in Maryland. And I was fascinated with how the cicadas become very different over a short period of time. And yet it's always the same. The pattern is very much the same every 17 years. So they shed and then they soar to lay eggs for the next generation. So it was inspirational.
It was a living metaphor. And I love the way you're talking about some of the graphics help enliven. One of the things that I'm always looking to do is to bring our commitments to life.
Yeah.
And there's something so primal about maps and about drawings, and especially if you're not an artist, and also about having a witness. I always say that what I do is I'm a witness, a catalyst, and a guide. So that is and then just for you, I looked up what a cicada, how do you say it?
Cicada.
Cicada. There's so many different ways to pronounce, and drew that just for you. So we commemorated the 17-year. And then we have these different pieces. Now, if we're going to look at the different pieces, what you say here in your longer version is that it was particularly helpful for you to have 90 days. Isn't that interesting? Because I know a lot of us are struggling these days, maybe some of you viewers are, to focus. And that's why I love creating group programs and creating accountability for me and whoever's joined, and also for each other, the group members. And if we're super clear, I always say that declarations precedes creation. So if we're super clear on a plan, and I love how you discussed it being casting a vision. That's fantastic. So there's something about 90 days that's manageable.
Yes. Yes.
Because yes, we want to cast a vision for the year with big dreams.
Yeah.
Right? But then when we break it down, what can you actually achieve in 90 days? And then how do you break it down into the daily? And there's something lovely and optimistic about doing this approach. But then if we don't unearth and express the obstacles,
yes,
they will come. My father, he doesn't play basketball anymore. He just turned 80, but he played for a very long time. And he used to do a round the back, under the leg layup. That was one of his best shots. He was a scholar athlete. And there's something about this kind of arrangement that makes it possible to do these tricks and to keep that focus and to create the habits that will make these actually pay off.
And to break the habits that are obstacles.
That's right. And if we don't express them, then they will come around from around the back, under the leg, and pull us to the ground and prevent us from reaching those goals. So thank you for being so open about all of this and the behind the scenes, and for sharing your personal roadmap with everyone. So would you feel comfortable with just letting people know what some of the obstacles are here? Oh, thank you.
Well, I'm on the Myers-Briggs scale, I'm an ENTP, and the joke made about that is squirrel, squirrel, bird. I'm very easily distracted and curious about everything. So the first one I listed was distractions, and you said, name me one. And I went, okay, I've got a lot of planting on my deck, a garden. So taking the deadhead flowers off is essential. It comes before everything else. That's just a little OCD thing. So that's the example of it. Getting myself into a state of focus has also been a little bit of an obstacle. I tend to overpromise. More than that, I'll tend to overcommit, and that ends up eating into a lot of my time, because usually the things you commit to are things with deadlines, and writing a memoir does not have a deadline unless you create one and stick to it, and that's a lot of what this is about. And obviously on down the list, procrastination and perfectionism, all those sorts of things. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, because do you mind if I read some of them?
No, but I wanted to say before you do.
Okay, good.
Every time I'm on my deck and I reach for a dead-headed flower, I think of my list of obstacles. I still deadhead, but I know what I'm doing when I'm doing it.
And now I also have the same, because I like to do deadheading flowers as well. So it has a ripple effect.
Yep, it's contagious.
All right, you're very generous allowing us to share, because I know that people out there listening and watching either replay or live with us are going to for sure resonate with one or more or all of them. So we've got the different obstacles that Mary was so great about expressing, because that's how we bring them to light, and then we can let go of them. But if we don't face them, or we're not even aware, they will do the around the back, under the leg layup and take us out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we got distractions, focus. So many people are struggling with this. Overgiving, overcommitting, over-delivering, perfectionism, procrastination, doing things alone. A lot of us have that tendency also. Spot on. And then vulnerability, which is an interesting one, because that's something that's required in enlivening memoir writing.
That's right. That's right.
And that's something that you've been so wonderful and open about. And it's a stretch for lots of people, and it depends on if you're a logic brain, if you're more comfortable organizing everything and having a lot of structure. But even people who are more on the emotional side, that doesn't mean they're comfortable putting it on the page,
right,
and sharing it. So vulnerability, and we know from Brene Brown it's a power, but for sure that's something that hangs a lot of people up. And then we've got comfort. Sometimes we're just habituated to, in order to get a book done, in order to step into a high level group like this, where people are like, they have missions. You guys have missions. You have ambitions. You have legacies. You have stories to tell. And that requires getting out of your comfort zone. Because if you're not feeling discomfort, you're not stretching, and you're not then tapping into the most power that you have. So, because you're going to feel it, right?
That one, we've written default creature above it, because I'm really a pretty good narrative writer. I've done a great deal of narrative writing. And it would be really easy for me to write my memoir as just a narrative. I've had a lot of adventures. It's interesting. It can be funny, but it is not what a memoir and my memoir has got to be about. And getting to that point of putting the narrative aside and getting deeper is something that's why I'm here.
Thank you so much for being so open about that, because it's true. And I love that you have that confidence to claim. And in fact, I have your other book, which was written in a different style. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Main Street's Comeback, which is fantastic. Everyone should look this up, and the full title and how it can come back again. And that's a whole story in itself. But just suffice to say that that was written in a less personal style. It's a fantastic, very moving, very inspiring, and it's different from creative nonfiction or memoir, and it goes by different names. and it requires vivid storytelling. What I always say is when you write the kind of memoir that I help people write is you're writing it as if it were a novel, but you're using your own material.
Yeah.
So it's got to be that riveting. And that's why, even with this discussion, this conversation we're having today, I began with the results. Because how fun is that? And that's a way of structuring a story, right? Where
Exactly.
you entice people in. And just to mention, so I even was out of date. Once again, Mary's results from her customized roadmap, which is what people who are joining SOAR, it's my new year-long program, the Story Academy, and it's a way of guiding everyone before they dive in. And 3 weeks in, Mary had lost nearly 10 pounds. She'd been kayaking twice, which is one of her visions with her partner. And she'd been writing nearly daily. And now it's 4 weeks in, and she's to 12 pounds, and there 3 kayaking trips. Now, there's something also about having this baseline and then having a what I always say I like to express is I'm a witness, catalyst, and guide, so I can reflect it back. And so also the other members of SOAR can do that as well. And it helps keep us accountable, and also to see, just like you said, the visuals added some punch to it, to see the results, because we sometimes don't notice. Was it startling to you in some ways to have those results?
Yes, it was. It really was. Particularly because I shared with you as we were doing this that I've had an eating disorder, and I have found it more difficult to come out about that than I had coming out as a lesbian or coming out as someone who has been plagued with imposter syndrome. Telling anybody that I had an eating disorder was something that was just, I didn't think I could do it. But once I did, it was like, what was that all about? But I think doing it also helped me ask for help on it in a very meaningful way. And they say it takes 3 weeks to break a habit or to start a new habit. And I've formed new habits about eating in that 3-week period. And this is one of the reasons that the result is so fulfilling.
That's amazing. And thank you for being so open about something that you weren't always able to or hadn't decided to be open about. And to articulate so beautifully the difference between being concerned about people knowing something and then making the decision to share it, and then the aftermath when it doesn't actually feel so difficult at all because you've stepped to the other side.
Yeah.
And it feels like having this kind of roadmap is something that can help you stay the course also, especially if you're paddling in a kayak or whatever kind of form we're looking at. So what else would you say? Let's actually just revisit just for the heck of it. So we have big dreams. Was that helpful to lay out those different big dreams? Because the top one is book.
Yes.
Inspirational, authentic memoir. Mm-hmm.
Yep. We've been talking for a while about bringing forth the kind of inner emotional side, and our conversations have really confirmed to me there's no point in writing this if I'm just going to tell the story of my life. That would be very boring. But I think beneath it are some things that could be pretty powerful to readers. And I got excited about that. It also, in our conversation, when you said, when do you have this finished? And I told you my partner was retiring in about a year. She's now changed it, and it's more like 18 months, thank heavens. Not for the following reason, is when I said I wanted to have completed the book and have it off somewhere by the time Archine retires and we can travel. And he went, oh. And I went, huh? Really? I guess if we're going to get realistic about this, I'm really going to have to put pedal to the metal here and get in here and row.
Absolutely. And so how did you see SOAR being something that was going to help you with that piece as well?
A couple of ways. One is I found that being part of a community of others who are struggling with very similar obstacles and things in their lives, and with similar goals, that can be really helpful and very supportive. It provides needed accountability. I've actually found the time between our roadmap conversation and now, I may have gotten results, but I'm sort of already feeling the accountability is something that needs to show up soon. So I'm really glad we're getting started this week.
Fantastic. It's so interesting. I'm so glad you're that mindful, because if we're not paying attention, it can slip away. And no matter how committed we are, I mean, this is my experience, and I think that we're tribal beings, and we thrive in communities of like-minded people where there's a high energy and a focus and a vision, like you said. And I also feel like the facilitation can help to make sure someone is staying, holding the space in a way that keeps it structured and indeed structuring. So thank you so much for pointing that out, because that's something that might be useful to anyone who is watching with us live or in the replay, is to ask yourselves that question. What are some creative projects and goals that you've had? And what are the periods of time when you've been the most productive? What was the scenario that helped you that way? So, because the reason I believe so strongly in what I'm doing is because it works for me. I invest in the same way in groups with a specific focus on some kind of goal and training that I desire, and being with other like-minded, high-powered people. It just elevates the energy, because lots of people are, if I may, sleepwalking through life. And we've all been kind of shell-shocked on some level by this pandemic, and I sense in myself these tendencies to escapism, or to kind of, what is it, a pill bug, to kind of roll into myself.
Yeah.
Because I've forgotten what it is to be in a group and just eat. And I love interacting with strangers too. So it's just interesting to get really clear, because we have such a thing of, we can do it alone. And, in the United States, and I know we have people from different parts of the world, Americans in particular have that.
Well, I would add to that those of us who are extroverts, I sometimes think of myself as I'm an exoskeletal thinker. I kind of do some of my best thinking, bouncing ideas around, and you can't bounce them around yourself. It really helps. Some of the members of our group have inspired me by example with the things that they have shared, or how they're responding to other people's writing. It's been really wonderful.
Yeah, it's a very special group, and it's so fun to have you as one of the founding members, and for us to have this basis and then to really track, which is something I didn't do a lot of when I was in my straight up literary artist mode. This has been me layering in the entrepreneurial expertise and blending it with the creative side. And that's when you just become a juggernaut in the most delicious way. Because it is about, making sure that you have trajectory and you're tracking, and you can see the result and the accumulation, the accretion of detail in a story, and the accumulation of results. Just like you gave us one more week, and it's a whole different scenario. Okay, so next we had the 90-day. And did you feel too that was bite-sized, that it gave you, and did you also resonate with there being one creative focus?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people a lot of times will, okay, I'm going to go, like with working out. Okay, I'm going to do this, having not worked out, and you do 5 days a week, and then you're shot and you don't sustain it. So what did you choose as your creative focus here?
I think my creative purpose has been the writing part.
Yeah.
As it probably should be if I'm going to get this thing done by the time Martine retires.
I love that ticking clock.
And as I've jokingly said, at my age, there are more gray cells dying every day, and I'm rushing to the finish here before it's all gone. But yes, I've found that that being able to make a daily commitment to it has been really, really helpful.
Fantastic, because then you gain a momentum, and you also don't you feel like you're losing some of the preciousness. It must be just so.
Absolutely. It's like the dishes can wait. The deadheads can't, but the dishes can.
I know, that's why you got a little deadhead.
That's right.
Why you got your little graphic there.
That's right. Yeah. It's been interesting. The one thing on here that I have had trouble with is I had sort of committed to my
oh, good. Yeah, share.
Yeah, my most creative time is I'm a morning person. So it was like I was going to write from 8 to 10. And it's been so hot here. I'm telling you something. You've been much hotter where you are, but I'm in Maryland, and it's been very hot and humid. And if I'm going to get out and exercise, or I'm going to get out and do anything in my garden, which I love, it's competing with that time frame because it's going to be far too hot. So I've had to shift that a bit. But I've really been doing writing every day, whether it's 8 to 10 a.m. or not.
So great. That is really wonderful. Please give yourself credit, because that was one of your main things, because what a perfect thing to do in the first quarter of SOAR for us to focus, and everyone has their own roadmap. But this one seems like a critical piece is just to develop the daily habit of writing. So that's very exciting. You're well on your way with your 19 pounds. You've already got 12. You're not even a month.
Yep.
What? But that's the thing too. We want to make sure that you don't like, okay, I'm fine.
That's right.
How do you keep those incremental steps? And also, even if there's a plateau, to keep going, whether it's writing or losing the weight. And you did your 3 trips. The kayak, that's so great.
I wrote down some way you put it a moment ago. It was the commitment can slip away without accountability.
That's a writer downer. I'm going to write it down. Commitment. Yeah. Slips away.
Yeah, it's just so easy to say, well, I've really been losing fast. I can slow down a bit now and snack. And no, you can't.
Exactly. And it's such human nature.
Yeah.
We are going to wrap soon because I know people have short attention spans. So we just have a couple more minutes. So is there anything you'd like to speak to? Because we actually covered everything except for the daily program. How's that been working for you?
It's been going very well. I've been working out with a trainer a couple of times a week for many years now. We've been doing it by Zoom for the last 18 months, and it's been great. I doubt if I would have anything like the stamina or flexibility without doing that. And I'm really finding that I'm making some progress on all these fronts. As you see, the results are there. And one thing I've learned as a planner, you can have a huge, big dream, big vision, but you need some little day-by-day little things that happen that let you know, they're like baby steps to motivate, to show you that you are on that path and give you the confidence that you can take bigger steps and climb a little higher. So this roadmap is really helpful.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else we want to say to wrap it up. It just feels like we've kind of covered the whole basis. And then, of course, it's important for it to be playful and fun.
Yes, absolutely.
And that was why I was, I'm not an artist. And I love to push myself, like I said, out of my comfort zone, and also to create something that has that individual inspiration, like that. Just for you, I've never drawn a kayak before, and it was just so fun to bring some color and imagery based on me being in a place of deep listening to you and enjoying you and catching the vision with you.
It's
So
great.
I can help reflect it back anytime you falter, and so can all the other people in SOAR. And I so appreciate you showing up and being so generous with your time and also with sharing, because this is behind the scenes, you know. I know some of those things aren't the most comfortable to share, especially when we're upfront about our obstacles and so forth. And
Well, if I'm writing a memoir and practicing vulnerability, what better way?
that's true. And I also think that you're going to inspire other people in SOAR to jump into their roadmaps and to actually get the results, because that's what I think is so exciting about all of this. And the same way we can incrementally write, and end up with a book proposal, whatever it is that the goal. And what an inspiring conversation. And thank you so much for showing up and sharing your story and your visual roadmap and your incredible results. Can't wait to celebrate you again.
Me too. Thank you, Rachel, for helping me get to this point and sticking with me for the next year.
I can't wait. Let's soar. Let's soar after we paddle through some more obstacles.
Exactly.
All right. Big hug.
You too. Take care.
Stay away from that deadheading until you've done your writing. No dead flowers. I'll take the same advice. I'll see you soon. Bye, Mary.
Okay. Bye, Rachel.